Good evening, Olamnewsers. Tonight is a very special night. It's the beginning of a birthday. The birthday of Robert Rodriguez Pereira. May his name be remembered with blessing. And tonight, Vayi Erev, Vayi Voker, the day started with the night and continued with the morning. In creation, it was taught that the day started with the night and began then and continued through the day until sunset and nightfall. And so the birthday of Benjamin, the son of Aharon, Benjamin ben Aharon, may his name be blessed in memory. May this day be a day that we learn one of the most enriching lessons that you may ever come across. And that is, for you, Olamnewsers, the 5 things, 1, 2, 3, 5 things that you need to know before you get married. Number 1, are you both attracted to each other? You must be attracted to each other. Number 2, do you talk well with each other? Now, talking well with each other may not happen on the first date, but it should happen on the second date at least. And you will know, is it easy to talk with each other? Is it easy to carry on a conversation with each other? Do you enjoy talking with each other? So number 1, you must be attracted to each other. Number 2, you must be able to talk well with each other. Number 3, do you have similar goals in mind? Do you want to live with a TV in your home? Do you want to live without a TV in your home? Do you want to have children? Do you not want to have children? Do you want to live in America? Do you want to live in Mexico? Do you want to live in Canada? Do you want to live in Africa? Do you want to live in China? Do you want to live in Israel? You must have similar goals in mind. Do you want to live rich? Do you want to live poor? Do you really not care whether you live rich, poor, middle class, whether you have the right perspective on the simple things in life, like, do you want to live clean in the house? Do you want to live dirty in the house? Socks all over the floor. Do you care? Can the person have similar goals in mind? If you have similar goals in mind, or one of you really doesn't care and you will be willing to go along with the other person's goals, then you have similar goals in mind. But if one person says, I just want to live rich, I cannot live middle class, I cannot live poor, and the other person says, well, I don't know if I can provide that for you. I can live poor, I can live middle class, but I cannot only live rich. Those are conflicting goals already. But if one says, oh, I don't care if I live rich, poor, middle class, I don't care where we live, and the other one says, no, I must live in Israel, and the other person says, okay, fine, I could live anywhere. You have similar goals in mind. But if you have conflicting goals and one says, I want to live in Africa, only in Africa, and the other one says, I could never live in Africa, Those are conflicting goals. So number one, you must be attracted to each other. Number two, you must be able to talk well with each other. It must be easy to talk with each other. You must enjoy talking with the person. Number three, you must have similar goals in mind. One wants a television in the home. The other one also doesn't mind having a television in the home. The one says, I don't want a television in the home at all. And the other one says, I have to have a television in the home. Those are conflicting goals. That's not fulfilling the third requirement before marriage. Number four, the fourth requirement before marriage is, and this is a goal that we should all have in mind, and I want to discuss now the importance of marriage and how serious it is. Marriage is a lifelong endeavor. Two people coming together to hopefully make each other happy, to live a long life with each other. And in order that the suffering of, God forbid, a separation, God forbid, a divorce, God forbid, distraught individuals, distraught children from a separation, God forbid, or a divorce, God forbid, that will only cause pain and suffering. To avoid that and to live a beautiful marriage together, building a family into the future, until the end of one's life. Because that's how serious marriage is. It's a lifetime relationship. It's a relationship that's going to last a lifetime. And that's how serious marriage is. So this fourth goal, this fourth requirement is something that you may not be used to, but if you want the chances of the marriage to last in a much higher percentage, if you want the percentage, the chances of the marriage lasting to be 90% successful. When I was first learning within the divine wisdom of the 5 books of Moses, the divorce rate back then was 5%. Within this system of marriage, to fulfill these requirements before marriage, to go into marriage knowing that these requirements have been fulfilled as best as one can fulfill them. The divorce rate was 5 to 10%. I was told 5%. And this fourth requirement, we must take this very seriously, because marriage is a beautiful relationship. And if entered into in the right framework, with the right thoughts, with the right intentions, then the marriage can last and grow and become the most beautiful experience that you've ever had in your entire existence on earth. And this fourth goal, my friends, is that you must be able to live with each other's negative points. What negative points could we possibly have? Well, what happens is people, when they're dating, they're on their best behavior. And they don't show their deepest, darkest secrets to the opposite, to the spouse. And because they don't show their deepest, darkest secrets to their spouse, once marriage occurs, the chances of those deepest, darkest secrets being something that the other person cannot live with are very high. And that's why we end up having high divorce rates. God forbid, it should not happen to us. High separation rates. God forbid, it should not happen to us. Disharmonious marriages that just continue to trudge on in a relationship of anger and suffering. And because of this fourth requirement, which you must be able to live with the other person's negative points, and the seriousness of the marriage and how important it is to build a family, and how beautiful it is, and how much I and God want you to find your soulmate and to live a beautiful life together forever. And the eternal relationship is a different discussion altogether. And it is eternal, it is forever. Your soulmate is waiting for you. And that fourth requirement, in order to live your life harmoniously, beautifully with your soulmate into eternity, is you must be able to live with their negative points. Let's review. Number one, you must be attracted to the other person. Number two, you must have similar goals in mind, not conflicting goals. Think about it seriously, because marriage is a serious thing. Number three, and number two can be exchanged. Number three, you must be able to talk well with the other person. Number four, you must be able to live with the other person's negative points. The negative points that a person does not show during dating, during the relationship, before marriage, can only be revealed if one is very serious about the matter with references. Both parties must be willing to give 2 to 3 references of somebody who's known them for a very long time, for many, many years. And those 2 or 3 references should be able to tell the person inquiring about the person's negative points. What are negative points could we be talking about? Number one, this is very important because marriage is a very serious thing and we want the marriage to last, so we must be able to live with each other's negative points. Please God. Examples are as follows. One of the spouses is a person that when they get angry, they say 4-letter words. Whoopee-doo. Wow, a lot of people say 4-letter words. Yes, 4-letter words is definitely Again, another discussion, whether that is healthy for you or not, and whether it can actually cause sickness to a person if they do say four-letter words. That's a whole different discussion altogether. But one person says four-letter words and the other one was not brought up at all with four-letter words being rattled off in the home, and they can't live with four-letter words. Well, during the dating process, none of this stuff came out. So somebody who knows them for a long time, when they ask the question, do they speak four-letter words? You've known them for 10 years, 20 years. Says the other person, who the reference is, yes, when they get angry, they say four-letter words. All right, thank you for telling me. The other person doesn't need to know that the person being asked, that the person who's thinking about marrying so-and-so cannot live with four-letter words. You move on to the next question. Next question. What are they like when they get angry? Okay, you told me they say four-letter words. What else? Do they throw plates? Do they throw punches? Do they drink heavily? Now, during the dating process, none of this came out because everyone was on their best behavior and no one really wanted to show their true dark side. Well, the answer to the question was no. They only say four-letter words. Okay. Well, maybe the person was brought up with four-letter words in the home. And they're okay with that. It's not a good thing, but they can live with it. And that was the question we first posed on the fourth requirement. Can you live with the person's negative points? You may not like the negative point of four-letter words in the home, which you can definitely work on together. But you may be able to live with those four-letter words. Whether you like it or don't like it is not the question. The question is, can you live with it? Let's say the person says they get angry and they throw plates. Well, maybe they're brought up in a home where plates were thrown. And yeah, they may not like the plates being thrown, but they can live with it and they can both work on it together. We're going to stop this plate throwing thing. They don't throw plates at each other. They just throw it on the floor. They can live with it. They don't like it, but they can live with it. And maybe they might say, yeah, when the person, gets angry, they punch holes in the wall, right? Well, bad, not a good thing. It's a very expensive thing to do. But you know something? The person inquiring about the other person was also brought up with a father or maybe a mother that got so angry they punched holes in the wall. And they don't like it, but because they're used to it, they can live with it. So these things are things that you may not like, but they can be worked on, but you know that you can live with those negative points. And those negative points are going to come out before marriage. They only come out after marriage, after a person lives with a person day in and day out, moment by moment, going through every situation in life, and then all of a sudden things will arise, and now all of a sudden what situation are they in? Well, I knew about all this stuff beforehand because the references told me that this existed, and the 2 or 3 references will be able to answer quite a few questions. And for the sake of a possible marriage, they're able to answer those questions honestly. It's not considered slander. It's for the sake of the future of these two individuals living together harmoniously. into a beautiful existence in the future, to avoid as much as possible, to have the highest success rate possible of a successful marriage, a happy marriage, a marriage that can build a beautiful family, a family of growth. One other point that may come to the forefront when asking a question is with the question to the references that each individual must be able and must be willing to give in order to ensure that a future marriage has the greatest success rate possible. Marriage is a serious thing. People can lose a lot of money to the other person. People can go through a lot of suffering. Forget about the money for a moment. They can go through a lot of suffering. The children can go through a lot of suffering. There can be a lot of distress going through God forbid, not us, a separation, a divorce. The stories are endless of suffering in this area. Just look around. And this question that may shock somebody is, do they have any psychological issues? Have they ever had a nervous breakdown? And the reason why that is a good question to ask is because a nervous breakdown can cause a person to really change. And a person may not be able to live with that negative point, live with that negative experience. There can be stresses in life that can cause a resurfacing of psychological issues, and that is a question that needs to be asked. Now, if the person is, healed from those things, they've gone through a lot of therapy, and, they're ensured that they're all right now, then that decision to move forward is their decision to move forward in the marriage. But a person has to know that high stress is like loss of a loved one, a job. Stresses in life can cause a nervous breakdown to resurface. A nervous breakdown can happen even at the time of birth. The stress of birth can cause it to happen. I've heard stories. These are questions that need to be asked before marriage in order to make sure a person can live with the other person's negative points. And I'm not saying this to be critical of anybody. I am telling you as one of the fourth requirement in order to ensure the highest success rates of marriage. Number one, you must be attracted to the other person. Number two, you must speak well with the other person. You must be able to talk with each other easily. That should come. It may not happen on the first date. It can happen on the second date. Number three, you must have similar goals in mind, not conflicting goals. Number four, you must be able to live with the other person's negative points. And the fifth requirement, which comes from the holy books, the Sfarim HaKadoshim, the holy books, is a divine intervention, a divine message that comes during the process before marriage, during the process towards marriage. If somebody steps forward, I've seen this, and it comes from the holy books, as I said. And this is a very serious matter, marriage, so you must take what I'm saying very seriously, not to cause yourself difficulty in the future. If all of these 5 requirements are met, the higher success rate of marriage will come to you, God willing. And this fifth requirement is that if somebody steps forward and says, this person is not for you. Not they say, I'm not sure if this person's for you or not. We need to check on this a little further. I've heard some things. Da 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 da. That's, you can continue with it. But if somebody comes forward and says, this person I know is not for you, you should not go through with this. And they are adamant, they are sure that this person is not for you. That is divine providence, and a person needs to take that very seriously and really check into the matter more until the truth is found. Thank you for listening to Olamnews. I wish you success in everything you do. And Le'ilui Nishmas for an aliyah, for an elevation of the soul of Robert Rodriguez Pereira. The 5 things you should know before marriage have come straight to you. Because God loves you. I love you. And you love you.